Welcome back. Welcome into the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. Week 7 is upon us. This is my Week 7 preview show titled The Dessert. If you've been with me recently, I did say weeks 4 to 7 would act as our 4-course meal. We had our appetizer. We enjoyed the soup and salad. We feasted on the main course. And now it's time for the cherry on top for the dessert here in Week 7. Thank you once again for being with me. I am your host, Blair Parks, coming to you as I do every episode from the Man/Hawkeye Cave. It's great to be with you. I appreciate your support, your viewership, your time. If you could, as always, if you could get the word out there. As we do on this show, we celebrate all things college football across the entire landscape, but with a special emphasis on the black and gold squads of the Missouri Tigers and the Iowa Hawkeyes. So if you could, I would appreciate if you like, share, subscribe. Let's get the word out there. Rally all black and gold fans to the cause. Let's keep this rolling. Today, I've got 4 topics I want to share with you. Actually, there's 3 topics. My first gaffe of the day. I'm going to give you, during the preview show, my key matchups for this upcoming weekend, then give you a little bit of analysis and commentary and a little bit of forecasting how I see our black and gold squads, how they can bring home victories for their programs, and then everybody's favorite segment, Week 7 another pick'em segment, and we do have guest pickers with me today. That's right, pickers plural. My children will step into the ring, challenge myself and Charlie, my former co-host, in picks. So another match of Thunderdome. We'll see if the children come out on top, or if it's one of the adults bringing home the title for Week 7 Best Picker. So without further ado, let's get on into it. And this dessert, it is absolutely promises to give us a lot more clarity and separation so we can finally decide and figure out and clearly indicate and identify who the college football playoff teams truly are. What are some teams that might need a little bit of help, just slightly on the outside looking in? And everybody else, those who will be eliminated. So hopefully for Week 7, you enjoy your tiramisu, you enjoy your brownies, you enjoy your ice cream, you enjoy your cakes and pies. Cakes and pies, cakes and pies. Gotta love some Deuce Bigalow. Good old Deucey, gotta love that. Classic film. So enjoy Week 7, the dessert. Let's get right on into it. Let's go into our key matchups for this upcoming weekend. And these matchups this week don't really compare last week. During the main course, Week 6, we had huge matchups left and right, kind of coming at us left and right. We had to duck, dodge, dip, and dodge. But this week is really kind of more of an undercard. There are some good matchups, but not quite to the level of last week's matchups. So the first matchup I want to discuss with you, a big tilt in the Big Ten. We have number 10, undefeated Michigan State travels to Indiana, playing in Bloomington. Can the Spartans continue their early season success as they travel to IU to take on the Hoosiers and safeguard their perfect season? Just to recap, currently the Big Ten, holla, has 5 teams in the top 10 AP poll this week. The first time ever in history, by the way. Indiana quarterback Michael Penix Jr. may or may not be available, nursing a shoulder injury he suffered 2 weeks ago at Penn State. That's all the information that has been made public. We don't know if he's going to start or play at all. We'll have to wait till kickoff. I just ask, will the real Indiana please stand up? I mean, this team had high expectations entering the season, ranked in the top 20, and just really haven't gotten any traction quite yet on the season. But maybe they can rise up and ruin the party for old Sparty. The key to success for Indiana is to limit the big plays that the Spartans have flexed and shown every single game. I mean, it seems like they can really score at will with a long touchdown pass, a long run by Walker III, who is one of my Heisman Trophy finalists as of right now. He's trending in the right direction. So we'll have to wait and see how this game plays out on the gridiron, on the field. So big game moving forward, especially in the Big Ten East, which that is a very intriguing race, and I don't care. This is my opinion, and I always want and ask you guys to comment any questions, comments, concerns. I'm going to say this right now because, quite frankly, I can. And if you don't like it, feel free. Let me know. But when you look at the power divisions in college football, we always talk about the SEC West, the Big Ten East. Sometimes we talk about the Big 12 in general, even though there's not really divisions. But this year, without a doubt, the best division in football is the Big Ten East. All you SEC fans, I know, how dare I say such blasphemy, but it's the truth, so deal with it. Next big matchup, number 20 Florida travels to a reeling LSU squad in Death Valley. LSU and Coach Ed Orgeron are sending out an SOS. Coach O, my guy, go Tigers, really on the hot seat. LSU and Coach O have their backs completely against the wall. Can Death Valley claim another victim via the Florida Gators and ruin Florida's season? Florida needs this game. They already have 2 conference losses, and they must win if they want to keep pace with Georgia. Now, they do still play Georgia, so they do have a hope to still reach the SEC title game, claim the SEC East, but they have to win today, beat Georgia head-to-head, and hope Georgia picks up a second loss somewhere along the line. But between you and I and us, fat chance of that happening. We'll have to wait and see. Big one in the Big 12. Pretty much the game of the week in the Big 12. Number 12, Oklahoma State, undefeated Oklahoma State. They travel to Austin to take on number 25, Texas. Can Oklahoma State pick up a huge road win and announce themselves as a true contender for the Big 12 title against their in-state rival Oklahoma? Oklahoma State's coming off a bye. Huge opportunity here. It really comes down to the big question is, how is Texas going to respond after that pie crust collapse last week against Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry? I just don't know. Quite frankly, it's going to be offense versus defense. Typically in the past, we've seen Mike Gundy's Oklahoma State teams really promote and show off high-powered offenses. This year's team is definitely tooled a little bit differently, more of a defensive first team. Can that slow down the vaunted Texas offense? I don't know. I mean, Oklahoma State, will they have enough firepower offensively? I mean, the veteran quarterback at Oklahoma State, Spencer Sanders, has a 5-to-4 ratio currently. 5 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Is that going to be enough to pull this huge road victory in Austin? And the loss could potentially, and if Texas ends up not responding, if they are going to not answer the bell, so to speak, the loss against Oklahoma could turn into 2 losses and might even, their entire season could tailspin out of control if they let it. Huge game in the Big 12. Next key matchup I want to highlight, Auburn travels to number 17 Arkansas, big SEC conference game. This is this week's edition of the Bounce Back Bowl. Both teams swallowed tough losses last week, but in completely different fashions. Auburn was beat down by Georgia at home like a redheaded stepchild, like the late great Neil Peart's drums. like Stannis Baratheon's armies in the north. I mean, absolutely got embarrassed at home by Georgia, 34-10. Arkansas lost a heartbreaker, 52-51, because they did attempt but failed to convert a 2-point conversion as time expired. So tough losses, but like I said, definitely in different fashions. Which one of these teams comes back, gets the victory? Because I believe the loser of this game will quickly and quietly fade away from relevance in the SEC West race this season. But like they said, it's better to burn out than fade away. So stay tuned to see how this matchup plays out. And by the way, some of these games may or may not have made this week's cut for the Pick'em segment. Stay tuned. You'll find out here shortly. Next matchup I want to bring to your attention is, yes, there still is good football within the conference. There still are some big-time games that matter. Big one in the ACC. More specifically in the ACC Atlantic Division, number 22 NC State, the Wolfpack. Oh, woo, woo, woo. Been working on it. It's Halloween season after all. They travel to Boston College. And as you can tell, little timeout, that as normal, you can tell it's also game day being upon us because I've got my same attire on. Represent Tim Dwight. Let me make myself presentable here. I got my game day hair. I don't want to put cast a spell or black magic or hex on the Hawkeyes. They are 6-0. So I've been doing this since day one, week one, with you and watching the games every week. This is what I've been wearing every Saturday and the Friday night against Maryland. I'm not going to switch anything up. I don't want to jinx our Hawkeyes. But this is a big game. NC State at Boston College. Can NC State keep up with Wake Forest? Wake Forest is undefeated, and they are 4-0 early in conference play. They've played a few more conference games than both NC State and Boston College. But whoever wins this game, this is a must-win game to keep pace with Wake Forest, because Wake Forest has yet to play either of these teams head-to-head. They find themselves highly ranked this week due to the Demon Deacons. Will we have any drama or anything worth watching in the ACC Atlantic? I mean, if this game really turns out to be a bore, we might simply just give up on the ACC. Clemson normally dominates this division. We know, I've pointed out what their deficiencies have been this year. This division, this conference is really wide open. Huge game there at Chestnut Hill in Massachusetts and Boston. If NC State loses, Wake might be able to operate on cruise control the rest of the season. I mean, that's really where they are, being 4-0 in conference play early. They could simply just pack it in and go through the motions and still win that division. We'll have to wait and see how this game plays out. This is a big-time game. If you like strong defense, good play in the trenches, this is going to be a game to watch. Next game I want to highlight and bring to your attention. Big one in the Pac-12 South. Number 18, Arizona State travels to Utah. Huge game. If you recall, I've been very high on the Pac-12 all season, and I definitely said this preseason during earlier episodes, and I'm going to say it right now. Even though the Pac-12 South is not the Big Ten East or the SEC West, it's not the best division in football, but it might be the most competitive. We have 4 teams that week by week seem to, this team this week seems to be in the driver's seat. Then the following week, this team arises to look like they're going to win the division. It's just as going back and forth in the Pac-12 South. And I believe the winner of this matchup absolutely will be able to claim that honor this week to be, as of now, head of the class to win the Pac-12 South. Arizona State has lots of playmakers. Jaden Daniels, their quarterback, absolute stud, man among boys. Utah definitely seems to be operating on offense a lot cleaner, a lot crisper ever since Former quarterback Charlie Brewer, the former Baylor transfer, left the program, I believe, after week 3 or week 4 when he was benched in favor of the Utah backup quarterback. It just seems like they are playing a little bit better. And they had a big win last week against USC to set up this huge game within the Pac-12 South. Big game. Definitely want to stay up, worth staying up late for this one on Saturday night. And next one I want to bring up, the last key matchup, is the spotlight game of the week for me. This is going to be our number 15 pick. It's also the college game day game of the week. Number 11, Kentucky, is at number 2, Georgia. 2 undefeateds clash. Supremacy in the SEC East, definitely on the line. Can anybody really challenge Georgia? I mean, like most experts would say, I am in complete agreement that to this point, Georgia absolutely looks like the best team in the nation. They continue to flex like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Hans and Franz, week by week, and I don't think they've even reached their peak. I mean, their starting quarterback, preseason Heisman Trophy finalist candidate, JT Daniels, hasn't played in 2 games. But they're still winning really with relative ease over every competitor. Can they be challenged? Kentucky, if you've been watching, I am high on this team. They have a playmaker at quarterback in Will Levis, the transfer quarterback from Penn State, which I'm sure Penn State fans would love to have him on roster after what we saw last week when Robinson came in off the bench. Definitely was not ready for that moment as a backup quarterback. They have a strong 1-2 punch in running backs Chris Rodriguez and my boy Kavasier Smoke. And they have a weapon on the outside in wide receiver Wandale Robinson, a transfer from Nebraska. Now, are those ingredients enough to knock off Georgia? A little bit of Kavasier, a little pinch of Rodriguez, cup of Levis with a hint of Robinson, and let's stir it up. Will that be enough to knock down and take out the dogs? We'll have to wait and see. Or will Kentucky merely be another notch in Uga's collar? We'll have to wait and find out. And I'm going to give out my first shame of this week. It might be my only shame of the week. But I've got to give shame to College Game Day, the ESPN pregame show. It's a ritual. It is an absolute higher education facility for college football. I've been watching for basically my entire adult life, but I'm very disappointed that this is Game Day's second time in Athens, Georgia within the last 3 weeks. Now, last week, they couldn't show up for a top 4 matchup, number 4 Penn State against number 3 Iowa, but yet they can go back to Athens for the second time in 3 weeks. And yes, this is a big game. It's the biggest game of the weekend. But are you telling me this absolutely makes no sense to me? Now, some of you would argue and say, well, the Fox network had the Penn State-Iowa game Saturday, which they did. So I understand being loyal to your network and your owner since the other game was on ABC. But here's the deal. I believe it was week 4. Week 4, though it's big Wisconsin-Notre Dame game at Soldier Field, that was the Fox noon game. But still, both pre-games were at Soldier Field, both Fox Big Noon and College Game Day. So what's up with that? I don't understand why they decided to go back to Athens, second time in 3 weeks, but shunned Iowa City when that was the game of the week, probably the game of the year as far as conference game goes to this point, but they weren't on location. So I say to College Football Game Day, shame, shame, shame. So big game, huge game between these two teams, and we'll see how this plays out. This one absolutely made my list of pick'em games. Stay tuned to see how I see this one going. And one more big matchup. Can't forget, because I always like to give loves and shout-outs to non-rev sports throughout the the college landscape, excuse me there. We have a clash of the Titans in Iowa City. Today, number 1 versus number 2. We have number 1 Iowa field hockey undefeated against number 2 Michigan undefeated women's field hockey. Huge matchup. Go Hawks. Keep making us proud. What a big matchup we've got on the field at, I believe it's Grant Stadium for field hockey this afternoon on a Friday. Love that. Go Hawks. So that's my key matchups for this weekend. Next topic, I want to move into give you some analysis, a little bit of a preview, a little bit of commentary, and forecasting how I see the games going for our beloved Black and Golds, both Missouri and Iowa. Let me get a quick swig of water here first. Normally, I always start with Missouri. Now, you're probably wondering, well, I get it. They're Black and Golds, their team colors, but obviously you are all about the Iowa Hawkeyes first and foremost. True, but I am a resident of the Show Me State. Missouri is my local Division I Power Conference team. I have several members of family and friends who are Missouri fans, former Missouri grads, so I got to give them props. But what I'm going to do today, I'm going to go ahead and switch it up. I'm going to discuss the Iowa matchup first. So this weekend, tomorrow, Iowa, it's homecoming weekend. They host number 2 Iowa. They host Purdue. Now, obviously, Iowa's coming off a huge signature win last week at home against Penn State. I mean, what a huge win for the program moving forward. A brand expanding kind of victory, historical moment, going to be etched in the minds of every Hawkeye fan from here out. But it comes down to, are they going to have a potential letdown game? And I'm going to say this right now. A lot of people are thinking this is going to be a simple rebound or a walkthrough for Iowa. No. Not going to happen. And I'll tell you why. I don't think I said this on air. I did say half of it. But rewind. I said the week of the Iowa at Maryland game, I did say to you, the Black and Gold family, that the Maryland game scared me a lot more than the Penn State matchup did, because I just had a feeling that Iowa could go in there, a little bit of a letdown looking ahead against Penn State. And I'm going to say the same thing about this Purdue game. This Purdue game also scares me more than that Penn State game would have, because Purdue in recent past has shown they do have the ability to knock off Iowa. Now, Jeff Brom, the coach of Purdue, absolutely on the hot seat. He was a big name hire 4 years ago when he started his administration at Purdue. He's only had one winning season. That was his first season. But he's found a way to be a constant thorn in the side of Iowa and her fans. Absolutely. He has a 3-1 record straight up against Iowa while he's been the head coach at Purdue. He has found a way to scheme against this defense and pull out victories. This is going to be a tough, highly contested game because they have a huge weapon, a man that has absolutely made the Iowa defense look silly the last 2 years. I'm talking about the Purdue wide receiver, David Bell. 2019, he had 197 yards receiving with 1 touchdown against us, which was an Iowa victory. We did find a way to pull that one out. Last year, 123 yards, 3 touchdowns against Iowa. Purdue was one of the 2 teams that beat Iowa last year. So this is not going to be a cakewalk for the Hawkeyes. They need to come out ready, focused to get it done. They've got to come out ready to play. Now, how I see this game turning out is Purdue is near the bottom in the Big Ten in rushing offense. This team struggles to run the ball, which that's one of the Iowa defense best strengths is against the run. So I could totally see Jeff Brom coming off a bye week to prepare, which is even more dangerous, to say, screw it, we're not going to even try to run. We are going to pass against Iowa to see if we can just simply outscore them. Now, this year, I do take a little more solace in knowing that this is a much improved Iowa defensive backfield. Their corners, their safeties, absolute ball hawks. 16 interceptions through 6 games. You know how highly I think of the Iowa defense. I think very highly of them. But they're going to be tested. I think Purdue will just pass. So I could totally see Iowa doing what Iowa does. 10, 12 play drives, take up 6 minutes or more on the clock. And then you could see Purdue score in 3 minutes in 5 or 6 plays to keep it close. I can totally see that happening. Hopefully I'm wrong. Will I pick Purdue for the upset or take the home Hawkeyes? You'll have to wait and see. But also, I do forecast that the streak will stay intact. I think Purdue can score 20 points against Iowa, but I don't think they're going to be able to score more than 24. So I think the streak will extend to 29 straight games of holding opponents to 24 points or less for the Iowa defense. And we get to 7-0, and I will say this, a lot of people are talking playoff talk for Iowa. I am not quite there yet. I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid. I am getting a little thirsty. But I will say this. This is a huge Saturday for Iowa football specifically. If they win Saturday, I think at that point they're 7-0. They have a bye week, a huge matchup on the horizon in 2 weeks at Madison against Wisconsin, which, yes, Wisconsin's down a little bit this year, but that has been an absolute house of horrors for Iowa to win at. If they beat Purdue tomorrow, they're 7-0. I absolutely expect that they will be in Indianapolis, winners to represent the Big Ten West, because at that point, everybody will have at least 2 conference losses except for Iowa. That is, if Nebraska is able to go to Minnesota tomorrow, get the victory, which that game did make our pick segment, so stay tuned for that. So if Nebraska goes to Minnesota and wins, coupled with an Iowa victory against Purdue, everybody in that division has at least 2 conference losses, except for Iowa, with 0, giving them plenty of wiggle room to at least lose 1 game and still get to Indy. So that's what's on the line. If Iowa's able to go to Wisconsin in a couple weeks and come out with a victory, then we can start thinking bigger picture, potential playoff path. But right now, 1 game at a time. So, big, huge matchups for the Missouri Tigers tomorrow. Huge matchup. This is their moment. They host number 21 Texas A&M, and unless you've been living under a rock or been sleeping, Texas A&M is coming off potentially the biggest win of the season, upsetting number 1 Alabama at home in Kyle Field in College Station. So they come into sleepy Columbia, Missouri, riding high all week from this win. People are telling them how good they are. This is an absolute potential letdown spot for Texas A&M. But it comes down to, will Missouri seize this moment, this opportunity? Iowa did last week against Penn State. Now it falls to Missouri to do the exact same. So Missouri, here's what they are facing. And this is a stat that it pains me to say this, but it has now been updated and it is correct. I've said all season, if you've been watching, the biggest issue for Missouri is their rush defense. And now they are dead last in Division I in rush defense. So bottom of the barrel, worst in Division I college football against the run. And Texas A&M does have a pretty good 1-2 punch in running backs Isaiah Spiller and Devin Echane. So this is what Missouri needs to do. To pull this upset, if you limit them to 250 yards rushing, you don't turn the ball over, you win the penalties battle, you don't have any special teams issues, don't miss any kicks, don't muff any punts, play field position, just play cleaner and crisper. Missouri will be right there. That is the winning recipe for the Tigers tomorrow. This is a huge, huge game. Right now, Missouri sits at 3-3 overall. This is a huge game to get towards making sure that they get to bowl eligibility. I did pick preseason Missouri to win this game because exactly that. The way this game is on the schedule from an A&M perspective, that was supposed to be the game of the year in the SEC last week between A&M and Alabama. A&M has fallen off. They lost 2 games in conference already. But either they beat Alabama, they come in, potential letdown game, or they take a loss. It drains them completely. They put so much into that game. It would be ripe either way for Missouri to get the victory. That's what they need to do. Limit the rush yards to 250. Take care of the biggest possession that you have, the most coveted thing, the football. Don't hurt yourself with penalties. I expect that the crowd's going to be off the chain, going to be lit. It's an 11 o'clock kickoff, which definitely favors the home team even more. Let's see if Missouri can get it done. Stand by to see who I pick to win this matchup. Big potential moment for Missouri. All right, now we move into my final topic and segment of this episode, Week 7 picks. Let me bring you up to speed. Myself and Charlie, my former co-host, Missouri fan number 1, the true Adonis of a man, we still have our ongoing competition. We set a goal that at the end of the regular season, we would both like to be at least at 70% as far as picking games straight up. Bragging rights are on the line. We're definitely going to make a little traveling trophy that each of us can possess for one season at a time. Currently, I'm in the lead, 55-35 for 61%. Charlie is just slightly behind me, 53-37 at a 59% clip. And this week, I am so delighted to be joined by the guest pickers, my children, Connor and Eliana. They step up to take their shot at winning the title as Week 7 picker title holders. What a matchup we've got. Huge bragging rights within the family, the Parks family as well. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Our first game on the docket. Previously, I brought this game up. Number 22, NC State, travels to Boston College. Let's start with the kids. You're going to see a reoccurring theme, by the way, from the kids' perspective. As far as they might have maybe leaned a little heavy towards anything that has 4 legs. So I kind of gave them the details on the teams. So the kids, they like the Eagles of Boston College. Connor was quick to point out that is our national bird. How can we pick against them? The kids like Boston College. Charlie likes NC State. I think defense wins this game. Boston College is coming off a bye week, had extra time to prepare. They know what's riding on this game. See if they can come back from a tough loss at Clemson a couple weeks ago. I think Boston College does enough. I like the Eagles as well. We have our first disagreement already out of the gate. Next game up, Nebraska at Minnesota. Big game within the Big Ten West, especially for the Iowa Hawkeyes if Minnesota loses. The kids, once again, they think Goldie, he's awesome, he's cute, like my daughter says. 4-legged friend, they like the Golden Gophers and the Fighting PJ Flex. Charlie, he also likes Minnesota at home. Me, I think this is finally the week. Finally the week that Nebraska turns the corner. They bring it all together. They've had several moral victories recently, the last 3 weeks. This is the week they finally bring it together. They don't turn the ball over late. Nebraska gets a pretty good road victory at Minnesota. Another disagreement we have already. Next game, undefeated, number 12 Oklahoma State. Huge game in the Big 12 once again. Travels to number 25 Texas. The kids, they're fond of the Westerns. One of their favorite movies we've watched recently. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Wah, wah, wah. They're in awe of the Cowboys. The kids are going with Oklahoma State. Charlie likes Texas at home. Me, I think Oklahoma State defensively will be able to slow Texas offense down slightly, but I just think the Longhorns have too much firepower. They pull away late. I got the Longhorns. We have another disagreement. Love this. Next game up, big game within the Big 12. Iowa State travels to Kansas State. Big game here for Iowa State. If they want to remain in the Big 12 race, got to have this game on the road. The kids, it's not Iowa, but it's Iowa State. Their fans, they like the Cyclones. Charlie also likes the Cyclones in the Little Big Apple at Manhattan, Kansas. I also like Iowa State, so we all like the Clones to get it done. Next game up, big game, huge game within the MAC East Division. We have Kent State, the Golden Flashes, travel to the Western Michigan Broncos. And because of that, like any young girl, my daughter is all about the horses, whether it's regular horses, ponies, unicorns. The kids are going with the Broncos of Western Michigan. Charlie also likes Western Michigan at home. Me, I think Kent State with that hurry-up tempo offense that I saw them play against Iowa. They're go, go, go all the time. Pedal to the metal. I like the Golden Flashes to win at Western Michigan. Another disagreement. Love it. Next game up, one I talked about, number 20 Florida travels to Death Valley to play at LSU, the Go Tigers, and Coach Ed Orgeron, who's clearly on the hot seat. The kids, once again, they got to go with the Tigers because they think a tiger can absolutely maul a gator. They like the Tigers at home. Charlie likes Florida. Me, yes, absolutely LSU is reeling. They've got to find it. Backs against the wall. 500 record. I think they rally even though they have big-time injuries. Their best quarterback, Derek Stingley, the third is out. They lost also this week their best wide receiver, Mr. Boutte. I don't think it's going to matter. LSU, that crowd riles them up. They rally, pull a big victory. I also like the Tigers at home. Another disagreement. Next game up, big game in the Pac-12, where we kind of are more going to separate the men from the boys. UCLA travels to Washington. I picked Washington to win the Pac-12 North. A lot of other peeps did as well, experts, analysts. UCLA to stay in the Pac-12 South race. They got to have this victory. We love our pups. We love our dog Milo. The kids have to go with the Huskies. Charlie likes UCLA to pull a big victory on the road. I also like UCLA to get it done. I think physicality wins the day. They'll be prepped. They'll be ready. I like UCLA on the road. Another disagreement. Next game up, big game within the ACC Coastal Division. Pitt travels to Virginia Tech. Huge game since both Miami and North Carolina have completely fallen off the radar. Definitely have underwhelmed their huge preseason expectations, those two teams. Who can potentially get out of that division with a victory and win the crown to play in the ACC title game? The kids, they like the Hokies. Once again, we got to love our four-legged friends. They love the Hokies. Charlie likes Pitt to win on the road. Me, I like the Hokies at home as well. They showed a lot last week in a loss against Notre Dame. Go Hokies, so we can all do the hokey pokey. Next game up is number 18 Arizona State travels to Utah. Talked about this one. Huge game in the Pac-12 South. The kids in this game, they like the Utah Utes. Charlie likes Arizona State on the road. Me, I like Utah at home. I think they've finally turned a corner. I did pick Utah to win the Pac-12 South preseason. Or will Arizona State walk away with a victory with their pitchforks? Fork 'em, Devils. Fork you. Fork me. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Next game up, Now we move to our spotlight games. Number 21, A&M at Missouri. Talked about this game. Huge opportunity for Missouri. Can they answer the bell and get it done at home? The kids, they love the Show Me State. They're going with Missouri. Charlie thinks A&M is going to be too much for Missouri. He likes A&M. Me, I called this game preseason. I'm sticking with it, just like I did 2 weeks ago when I picked Maryland to defeat Iowa. I was way off on that one. But I think it happens. I think Missouri pulls an upset. A&M comes in sleepwalking off of last week's victory. They storm the field in Como. Missouri gets it done. I'm going with it. Next game is Purdue at number 2 Iowa. Talked about this game. Potential letdown spot for Iowa. Can they get it done? The kids, we love Iowa. They're going Hawkeyes all the way. Charlie also likes the black and gold of the Hawkeyes. I think Iowa sleepwalks a little bit early after last week's game. They get punched in the mouth. They respond. I like Iowa to get it done. When the dust and smoke clears, we all like the Hawkeyes. Next game is our Academy Spotlight Game of the Week. I always like to pick one game that includes Army, Air Force, or Navy. This week we've got Army travels to Wisconsin up in Madtown. Awesome matchup. 2 run-first offenses. This might, folks, end up being the shortest game ever in the history of college football. The triple option against Wisconsin's vaunted rush defense, which is the best in the nation. Can Army pull off what would still be considered an upset, even though they have the better record? The kids, they like the Badgers. Charlie also likes Wisconsin at home. Me, I think Wisconsin does enough, but this could be potentially a 13-6, 13-10 kind of game. We all like Wisconsin. Next is our non-Power 5 Spotlight Game of the Week. Number 24, San Diego State travels to the Spartans of San Jose State. That game is tonight on a Friday night. The kids, they like the Spartans. Go Sparta. Charlie, he likes the Aztecs on the road. Me, I've been high on this San Jose State team. I think they've got it done, the defending Mountain West champions. I also like the Spartans to get it done. This is Sparta. They get it done. Next game is our FCS Spotlight Game of the Week. And this week we go to the Patriot League. They play good football in the Patriot League. We have the Georgetown Hoyas travel to the Holy Cross Crusaders. What a game. The kids, something that they say these days, at least my son, him and his friends, kind of similar to the Marines, hoo-yah. What he likes to say when something goes his way is, Hoya! Hopefully that was a good impersonation there, Connor. The kids like the Hoyas also because we love our pups. We love our dogs. They've got the Hoyas. Charlie, he likes the Crusaders. Me, I also like Holy Cross. We have another disagreement. Now, finally, our Spotlight Game of the Week. Number 11, Kentucky travels to number 1, Georgia. I'm going to say it this way. We've been consistent. The kids have. They love the pups. They're all about UGA to get it done. Charlie also likes Georgia to continue to flex. Me, I think Kentucky is going to keep this close for a while. I would love to see the upset. That would completely add to the parity and chaos that we have this year in college football. But I don't think they've got enough. We all like Georgia to win. Now, a couple of quick trap games. The trap games I want to share with you. Clemson at Syracuse, a game that's tonight on a Friday night. Clemson travels to Pitt next week. Maybe they're looking ahead. Maybe the Orange pull the upset. Number 13, Ole Miss travels to Rocky Top, Tennessee tomorrow. Next week, Ole Miss hosts LSU. Maybe Josh Heupel, that offense, which has really turned it on since Hendon Hooker took over at quarterback for Tennessee. Maybe they pull the upset. Another trap game already. Maybe TCU travels to number 4, Oklahoma. Maybe a potential letdown game for the Sooners. Quarterback battle going on between true freshman Caleb Williams, Heisman Trophy candidate Spencer Rattler, who was benched last week during the game. They did come back and win. Will those distractions be too much? Maybe they lose at home to the Horned Frogs. Stand by. Next trap game, got a couple more trap games, 2 more for you. Mentioned number 21 A&M at Missouri. Are they living high off of last week's big win at Alabama? Have a letdown game at Mizzou. I picked Missouri. And also our Hawkeyes, Purdue at number 2 Iowa. Is Iowa come out a little lackluster off of last week's big win against Penn State? I picked Iowa. We'll have to wait and see. Also, shout out quickly, hopefully UTSA win again, stay undefeated, improve to 7-0. They get to 7-0, folks. They've got to be in the AP poll Sunday afternoon. Well, that's it. I appreciate, once again, your viewership, your support. Thank you for everything that you do. This is an absolute pleasure, me sharing my passion of college football, especially for Iowa, with you. Feel free, please, get the word out there. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Your comments I will get on air. They're always appreciated and wanted. So enjoy the rest of your day, your weekend. Enjoy the dessert. Take in the football. Have a good one. Until next week, I say peace, love, prosperity. Take care of yourselves. And thank you for joining me today on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. We'll see you next week. Take care.